Around the World Lit Audio. Journey to the West by Wu Cheng'en. Chapter 1. Full narration script. Channel intro. Welcome to Around the World Lit Audio, the greatest novels ever written, from every corner of the world, in English. New chapter every week, free to listen. Book introduction. Today we begin our 6th book, Journey to the West by Wu Cheng'en. Written in China in the 16th century during the Ming Dynasty, and widely considered one of the greatest works of fiction ever produced in any language. In China, it is simply known as one of the 4 great classical novels, books so fundamental to Chinese culture that every child grows up knowing their stories the way Western children grow up knowing fairy tales. But Journey to the West is not a fairy tale. It is something far larger and stranger and more alive than that. The story begins before the story. Before the monk, before the journey, before the sacred scriptures, there is a monkey born from a stone egg on a mountain at the beginning of the world, who taught himself immortality, who stormed the heavens and defeated the armies of the Jade Emperor, who declared himself the great sage equal to heaven, and who was only stopped when the Buddha himself reached down from his celestial palace and trapped the monkey under a mountain for 500 years. That monkey is Sun Wukong, and he is one of the most extraordinary characters in the history of literature. Funny, terrifying, loyal, vain, brilliant, impossible, and utterly, completely alive on every page. The journey itself follows the Buddhist monk Xuanzang, known in the West as Tripitaka, who travels from the Tang Dynasty capital of Chang'an to India, to retrieve sacred scriptures that will bring enlightenment to the people of China. He travels with 3 disciples, Sun Wukong the Monkey King, Zhu Bajie the Pig Demon, and Sha Wujing the River Ogre. Each disciple was a powerful spirit, who committed some offense against heaven and must earn redemption through service and sacrifice on the road. The journey takes 14 years and passes through 81 tribulations, monsters, demons, false gods, enchanted kingdoms, impossible obstacles, and the endless, exhausting, magnificent comedy of 4 very different beings, who must somehow work together to reach a destination that feels, at every stage, impossibly far away. It is an adventure story. It is a religious allegory. It is a political satire. It is a comedy. It is a meditation on enlightenment, on discipline, on the relationship between power and wisdom, on what it means to protect someone you find profoundly irritating across 14 years and 10,000 miles. It is also, and this above everything else, a story about a monkey, the greatest monkey in the history of human imagination. Journey to the West. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The divine root conceives and the origin is revealed. Before the world was the world, there was nothing, and then there was something. The ancient texts describe it this way: in the beginning, the universe was a single egg, an egg of pure chaos, dark and featureless and without dimension, containing within it everything that would ever exist. For countless ages this egg rested in the void, and then, at a moment that no calendar can record, it cracked. The light elements rose and became the sky. The heavy elements sank and became the earth. Between them, in the space that their separation created, the 10,000 things came into being: mountains and rivers, plants and animals, seasons and tides, and finally, after all the rest, the creature that would name itself human and proceed to cause the greatest possible trouble for everything around it. The universe, having completed this arrangement, settled into its patterns. The sky turned. The earth was still. The sun rose and set. The moon waxed and waned. And in the corner of the eastern sea, in a place called the Alai country of the continent of Pervabdahuf, there stood a mountain. The mountain was called the Mountain of Flowers and Fruit. It rose from the sea like a fist thrust upward through water, its peaks sharp and green, its flanks covered in ancient forest, its streams running cold and clear over stones that had been there since the world was young. It was a mountain of particular beauty and particular power, a mountain that sat at the intersection of heaven and earth and sea, that drew to itself the energies of all 4 directions, that hummed, if you pressed your ear to its rock face on a still night, with something very like life. On the summit of this mountain there was a stone. The stone was no ordinary stone. It was 10 feet high and 8 feet across, and it had been there since the beginning, had been placed there by the universe itself, or had grown there, or had always been there, which amounts to the same thing. Over the ages it had absorbed the essence of heaven and earth, the vitality of the sun and moon, the spiritual energy that flows through all things when conditions are right, and someone is paying attention. And then one morning, on a morning that felt, to those who were there to feel it, slightly different from other mornings, charged with a quality of imminence that animals sense before humans do, the stone split. From within it came an egg. Not a bird's egg, not a reptile's egg, an egg of stone, smooth and gray and perfect, the size of a large melon. It sat in the crack of the mountain stone, and pulsed with light, and then, as the wind touched it, and the light of heaven fell on it, and the earth's energy rose through the rock beneath it, it too cracked open, and out rolled a stone monkey. He was small at first, no larger than a newborn, but he grew as he breathed in the mountain air, grew with impossible speed, his limbs lengthening and his eyes brightening, and his face acquiring the particular intelligent, mischievous, alert expression that it would wear for the rest of his extraordinarily long life. His eyes, as they opened for the first time, shot twin beams of golden light toward the palace of the Jade Emperor in heaven, so bright and so sudden that the Emperor's attendants rushed in crying that two rays of light had pierced the sky. The Jade Emperor looked, and saw, and said, "This is not unusual. Things born of heaven and earth often have such vigor at birth. Watch. It will fade as he eats and drinks." The attendants watched. The light faded. They went back to their duties. The stone monkey, for his part, knew nothing of Jade Emperors or heavenly palaces, or golden light from his eyes. He knew the mountain. He knew the air. He knew the sound of wind through the pines and the cold shock of the stream when he put his hands in it, and the particular joy of a creature that has just come into existence and finds existence, on first inspection, extremely good. He ran with the wolves. He played with the deer. He nested with the birds. He swam in the streams and climbed the trees, and ate the fruits of the mountain, and discovered, day by day, the extraordinary capacities of his stone-born body, its strength, its speed, its flexibility, its absolute refusal to tire. He was happy. He was wild. He was free. And he was completely, perfectly ignorant of everything that lay beyond the mountain. This did not last. One summer afternoon, the monkey had been alive for some years now, long enough to have become the leader of his tribe, long enough to have explored every corner of the mountain, and learned the name of every tree and stone. He was sitting with the other monkeys, beside a waterfall, when someone asked a question. The question was, "Where does this waterfall come from?" The monkeys looked at the waterfall. None of them knew. It fell from somewhere above, enormous and white and loud, and it fell into a pool below that was deep, and green and cold. Where it came from, and where it went, were mysteries they had never thought to investigate. Someone said, "Whoever goes behind the waterfall, and finds out what is on the other side, will be our king." The monkeys looked at each other. Then they looked at the stone monkey. The stone monkey looked at the waterfall. He closed his eyes, gathered himself, and leapt through the curtain of falling water. On the other side was a cave. Not just any cave, a palace. The waterfall had hidden it perfectly, a great chamber of natural stone hung with stalactites, that caught the light and scattered it like stars, its floor smooth and level, its air clean and dry and ancient. At its center stood a stone table, and stone benches and a stone pot, everything a monkey civilization could want, hidden behind a wall of water, waiting for someone who was not afraid to jump. The stone monkey came back through the waterfall, soaking and grinning. He told them what he had found. The monkeys went mad with excitement. They called him king. They bowed to him, the whole tribe, bowing to this stone-born creature, who had come from an egg and been alive for less time than a mountain thinks about before breakfast. He took the name Handsome Monkey King. He organized his tribe. He arranged the cave. He established order and hierarchy and the particular pleasures of a kingdom that has everything it needs and is content within its borders. And then, one evening, he sat alone at the mouth of the cave, and looked at the moon and felt, for the first time in his life, something that was not happiness. It was not unhappiness either. It was something more specific and more troubling than either. The knowledge, which had come to him without warning, that he was going to die. Not soon, not yet, but eventually. All the animals of the mountain died. The wolves and the deer and the birds, even the oldest trees fell in the end. He was strong and quick and seemingly indestructible, but he was made of matter, and matter ends. He could not accept this. He sat with the moon and he thought about it, for a long time, and when he was done thinking, he had arrived at a conclusion that would have seemed, to a less extraordinary monkey, completely insane. He would learn immortality. He called his tribe together. He told them he was leaving the mountain to seek a teacher, a sage, a master, someone who knew the secrets of heaven and earth and could teach him how to live forever. He told them to continue to enjoy the cave, and the waterfall and the mountain, and he told them he would return. He built a raft from the trees of the mountain, and launched it into the sea, and the wind took him, and the current took him, and the stone monkey, who had come into the world from an egg, sailed away from the only home he had ever known toward the horizon. He sailed for years. He touched the shores of the southern continent and learned nothing useful. He encountered humans for the first time, and studied them carefully, learned their language, learned their ways, traded his animal skins for human clothing. He walked among them and watched them, and found them interesting in the way that a very intelligent creature finds everything interesting, which is to say, entirely and without condescension. But no one could teach him what he sought. The humans had their wisdoms and their arts, and their ways of being in the world, and these were worth knowing, but they did not know immortality. They were mortal themselves, every one of them. and most of them had made their peace with it, in ways that the stone monkey found admirable but insufficient. He kept moving. He crossed the Western Ocean. He came to the Western continent. He walked its mountains and valleys until he found the mountain of the heart and mind, and on that mountain, in a cave called the Cave of the Slanting Moon and Three Stars, there was a Taoist patriarch named Zhu Bajie, who was very old and very wise and taught a small group of devoted students in the manner of all teachers, who have found something worth teaching. The stone monkey knocked on the gate. A student opened it. The student looked at the monkey. The monkey looked at the student. The student went to tell the master that something unusual had arrived. Zhu Bajie came to the gate himself. He looked at the monkey for a long time. The monkey looked back with those bright, alert, bottomlessly curious eyes. The patriarch asked, "Where do you come from?" The monkey said, "I come from the mountain of flowers and fruit, in the country of Alai, in the Eastern Sea. I have no teacher and no learning. I have only the desire to be taught." The patriarch considered this. He asked, "What is your name?" The monkey said, "I have no name. I was born from a stone." The patriarch looked at him for another long moment. Then something in the old man's expression shifted, not quite a smile, but the precondition of one. He said, "Then I will give you a name. You belong to the 10th generation of my disciples. Your family name is Sun, which means monkey, and also means speed, and is a name with deep roots in the Taoist tradition. Your given name is Wukong, which means awakened to emptiness. Together, Sun Wukong." The monkey said the name to himself. He said it again. He liked it. It fit him the way the right name always does, as though it had been waiting for him. He bowed deeply to the patriarch and said, "Sun Wukong thanks his master." And so the stone monkey, who had cracked out of an egg on a mountain in the Eastern Sea, who had leapt through a waterfall and become a king, and sailed across 2 oceans looking for the secret of immortality, became a student. He would be the greatest student the patriarch had ever taught. He would also be, by a considerable margin, the most trouble. But that, the learning, the mischief, the heavenly disasters and the divine rebellion, and the 500 years under the mountain, that is the story to come. This is only the beginning. Chapter Transition. You have reached the end of Chapter 1 of Journey to the West, by Wu Cheng'en. In Chapter 2, Sun Wukong begins his studies under the patriarch Zhu Bajie. He learns the 72 earthly transformations, the ability to become any creature or object at will. He learns cloud somersaulting, a single leap that covers 108,000 li. He becomes, in short, something the universe has never quite seen before. And then he does something that gets him expelled from school. Chapter 2 is available next week. Subscribe to Around the World Lit Audio so you never miss a chapter. A new chapter arrives every week.